pregame.com.
Down to the Final Four in the NFC Saturday on Fox. This is Brad Powers in the pregame.com studios just off the Vegas Strip. We're talking NFC divisional round. We have Seattle at Atlanta.
Shootout in Atlanta. Who do you like?
I'm expecting a shootout, and we're going to take the over. That's right, we're taking the over here, and it all starts with this Atlanta Falcons offense. It's historic. They average, every time they snap the football, 6.7 yards per play. Put that in perspective, it's top 10 all-time in the National Football League. It's better than anyone's produced in the last 5 years. They're number one in the National Football League this year in scoring, averaging 34 points per game. The betting markets have priced them as a very good to great offense, not necessarily an historically elite offense. That's why we like the over.
In many ways, these Falcons have been flying under the radar. If they'd been the New England Patriots, I think the markets would have noticed, but they really haven't because they're the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, small market team. Haven't played a lot of nationally isolated TV games this year. Haven't had a lot of big games outside of maybe the Green Bay game middle of the season as far as isolated TV. And yes, it's tough to fly under the radar in the NFL, but I think the case could be made that is the instance here.
You know, one thing I really like is they've got these dynamite stats, but Julio Jones, arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL, has been injured the second half of the year. He missed 2 games. They've taken him very slowly coming back, but that last game against the Saints looks like he's fully back, put up almost 100 yards receiving, ready to go for the playoffs.
Yeah, and another reason why I think this total is a little bit mispriced. Keep in mind, Atlanta's been scoring without him in the lineup. Now they have him healthy, and he's got that extra bye week to get 100% healthy. I think it's only a positive for this Atlanta offense.
All right, let's talk about Seattle. Last week against Detroit, ground and pound. Dave Malinsky, our own Dave Malinsky, talked about they put the fullback sets in and they just handed the ball off to Rawls. Any concerns that the clock is going to go tick, tick, tick when Seattle has the ball?
A little bit, but I don't think necessarily that a great ground game is going to be an automatically under here like the old school thought process would be. Let's face it, they are also playing a very bad Atlanta defense as far as rush defense goes. They allow 4.5 yards per carry, and if they're having a lot of success running the football against that Atlanta defense, that's going to open up the passing game. A very balanced offense could be a very effective Seattle offense.
Your second key handicap.
Well, let's talk further about that Atlanta defense. It's well below average for a playoff team. In fact, if you add the 12 playoff teams together, they are worst out among those 12 teams as far as points per game allowed. They're number 2 in yards per game allowed.
And how about that epic collapse here? Week 17, when they led by 20 against the Saints, gave up not 1 but 2 backdoor touchdowns.
I was very thankful that was the case because I actually had a New Orleans ticket, and you look at this Atlanta defense, obviously they're capable of giving up a lot of points quickly, but let's talk about this Seattle defense. I know I mentioned it last week. I still think it's the case. They are not the same without safety Earl Thomas. They've been giving up 5 more points per game, and I think we get extra value because they kind of looked good last week against the Detroit team.
I think they got a big break facing Detroit, a dome team, a precision team, Stafford with the injured finger. It's going to be a lot different this week against an elite offense. Let's make it official.
Yeah, let's make this official. We're going to take the over here. We have an Atlanta offense that's historic. They're top 10 all-time in yards per play, and the betting markets haven't caught up to them yet. Plus, we have an Atlanta defense that's well below average for a playoff team. In fact, they're worst among the 12 playoff teams this year in points per game allowed. Add it all up, and we look for a lot of offensive fireworks in the Georgia Dome. More videos at pregame.com.